I'm very excited because we've got someone from CoinFund here. And no, it's not just anybody. It's the founder and CEO of CoinFund. We're going to bring him on in just about how much time do we have here? I feel like I'm bloviating like the Razman here. But I guess that's what happens when you give me a camera and a microphone. So in just a few seconds, we are going to bring on Jake Brukhman, the founder and CEO of CoinFund. So guys, please hit the like button. Please let your friends know, share on social, and let them know that now is the time to get on the ground floor to learn about these companies that are going to be the next big, mid, and large cap companies of tomorrow. Investment opportunities and education abound. Producer Rowan, can you please bring on founder and CEO of CoinFund, Jake Brukhman?
Hey there. Hi, Neil.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you today?
I am doing wonderfully, splendidly. So could you tell us a little bit about CoinFund and yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of CoinFund. CoinFund is a blockchain-focused investment firm. Our hometown is New York. We've been in this space for a long time, looking at blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and just crypto in general. I'm a technologist. I had about a 10-year career in financial technology. I worked as a quant trader early on, and I worked at Amazon as a technical product manager and engineer. And then I was the CTO of a fintech alternative data company where we studied a lot of pre-IPO, technology companies. I learned about Bitcoin in 2011 and went down the rabbit hole. And around 2015, that's when I started CoinFund. So we've now been around for about 6 years. We're a multi-strategy firm. We're a very technical firm. We understand the depths of this technology and the trends that are happening around it. And we like to think that we are great partners to early stage teams in the space.
I love it. I'm really looking forward to hear what you have, especially now. Like now is such a good time for you to get out and talk about what you guys are doing. So, Jake, if you have a presentation, I would love to allow you to have the space to do that now.
Awesome. I do have one. I'm just gonna sort of talk through it. But are people allowed to ask questions as well?
They are, absolutely. So, do you have chat visible to you right now?
I do.
Yep. So you are welcome if you see a question to go ahead and just address it. Otherwise, if I see something and you are in the heat of battle of your presentation, I'll interrupt you and make sure that we answer questions that are pertinent to the conversation.
Okay, fantastic. So maybe I'll just kind of hop right into it.
Yeah.
And first, maybe I want to talk a little bit about sort of CoinFund and how we look at the space. We are, as I said, we're a multi-strategy firm. That means that we have strategies that look at liquid assets. So this would be like high cap, Bitcoin and Ether and other crypto assets. And we also have a VC strategy, and that means we're investing in the early stage companies that are creating some of these blockchain technologies, that are also creating some of the companies that will gain incredible competitive advantages later by using those technologies, underneath. And what is our mission? Our mission is to watch this, innovation curve that's been happening here for about 10 years and looks like it's just about to start getting some early mainstream adoption. So I want to say back in 2015, we were looking at Bitcoin and saying, what is there beyond Bitcoin? Are there other cryptocurrencies? Are there other networks? Are there other applications of the technology? And then around 2017, we saw the ICO boom. We saw a lot of companies fundraising through digital assets, proposing all kinds of different schemes and technologies, but really without early traction of any kind in the world. And we were asking, can we find some fundamental value? What does the world beyond ICOs look like? And interestingly, just in the summer of 2020, we finally started to see this really interesting phenomenon. We call it in the space DeFi summer. So this means, DeFi means decentralized finance. That's a movement where a bunch of blockchain technologies are offering financial services to people and starting to compete with the traditional providers of financial services out there, which are banks. They're offering services like exchange of digital assets on chain, lending, borrowing, derivatives, all of the things that we normally think of when we think of financial services like on Wall Street, but in a manner that is really decentralized, really open, really global. And here's the really important part: publicly owned. One of the really interesting aspects of this from an investor's perspective is that by being a token holder in many of these networks, you're partially an owner. You're able to vote on what this network does. And so now with this third fund, CoinFund is looking at basically early adoption of blockchain technologies. And interestingly, everyone always thought it would come from financial service is coming and be applied to all art, content, to in-game assets, to collectibles, to stock photos, to 3D models, to fonts, to icons, and I can go on and on. And that space of digitizing digital content of all kinds is actually really big. And by putting them on blockchains, we're basically taking them liquid. On blockchains, we're basically taking them liquid in this enormous IPO. So I want to, those are some of the exciting things that have happened in the space, and CoinFund has been along, that journey, and I think that journey will now continue into sort of even more broad adoption of blockchain technology. But a lot of people are focused on prices. A lot of people are focused on the liquid markets. What I'd like to point out is that some of the most interesting innovation here are kind of things that most people aren't thinking about. And I want to tell you like where, I see this innovation like really happening. And I think it's in three core areas. I think blockchain will be incredibly disruptive to finance, as we just talked about with, with DeFi, to digital services, and I want to explain a little bit more what that means, and to marketplaces. And all three of those are like incredibly broad categories that capture a lot of companies, a lot of commerce, and a lot of addressable market. So let's think about digital services. When I say digital services, what I mean is, things like putting your data in the cloud, or using a network of computers to perform a computation. These are fundamental services that like all of the startups that consumers use run on. And what blockchain can do is it can disintermediate the traditional providers of these services. And the way that it does that is it opens up these networks, opens up the supply side of these networks, where people can come in and, for example, put their own disk space or put their own computational power on this network and offer it to customers on the other side. And what's the result here? The result is that you have created a marketplace which is facilitated by blockchain technology. It can grow bigger than Apple and Google combined, because onto this network you can put all of the supply side space or all of the supply side computational power in the world, and all these devices that are out there. And here's the really interesting part: you can make them cheaper in many ways than Amazon. And so I want to kind of give like a very specific example of one network that I really like, and that network is called LivePeer, LivePeer.org. LivePeer is a decentralized network for video transcoding. And what that means is that when you think of applications like Twitch, when you think of applications like the one that we're currently on, these applications need to go and basically transcode video for all of these different devices of the people watching. And that service is a computational service, and it's usually provided by some big cloud provider like AWS, and it's usually really, really expensive. And what LivePeer does is it opens up that network so that anyone who is willing to put in the time and effort and cost to run a GPU can actually provide this service. And it's totally open. It's based on a token called LPT, live peer token.
Okay.
That token is a governance token of the network. So by owning this token, not only do you have the right to be on the supply side, but you also get the right to vote and and have a say in what this network does in the future. And on the demand side, meaning as customers, what do we get from live peer? Well, we get this incredible open API that anyone can use, and it's 10 times cheaper potentially than Amazon. So there's this really clear value proposition here. Like, we can offer services, cheaper than sort of incumbents. By the way, the ingenious way that live peer is able to do that is because it can use the same GPU cycles that are transcoding video to mine cryptocurrency. And so that creates this subsidy that potentially is really competitive with the incumbent networks. And the other value proposition of this network is it's just totally open. It's global. It passes on some of the censorship resistance properties of blockchain networks, to the users. It's robust. It has better, lack of downtime than systems that are managed by, smaller or centralized companies. And there are all these advantages that you could get from that. So that's an example of digital services, and an example of, one particular network operating.
So Jake, I dropped the link to that so folks can check it out and try to understand or get a better understanding of the platform and the idea. Would you say this is what is hands down the most exciting thing that you see happening? Is it live peer? Just give us the goods right off the giddy.
Well, I would say, it's the assets that are not speculative assets. So when I think of Bitcoin, when I think of Dogecoin, absolutely, they're in the news. Elon is trading them and everything like that. But to me, as an early stage investor looking for long-term fundamental value, and trying to find where these companies will be, most impactful, I'm looking for networks and assets that are capturing value. And so what are those networks to me? Well, I think it's the DeFi networks. It's things like Balancer, which is a decentralized exchange where you can become, you can go trade on it, or you can become a liquidity provider by depositing your assets and getting some of the value, some of the trading fees essentially of the network. And by owning the token, you get exposure to that, right? This is, we're talking $4 billion today of daily volume going through DEXs, and that being just 1% or so, 1 to 2% of the daily volume of crypto in general. So, what I always say is I like to find the tokens with fundamental value. You have decentralized exchange, you have lending protocols like Aave, like Compound, I suppose. I'm super excited about NFTs. We're pre-seed funders of Rarible.com, which is one of the biggest NFT marketplaces. And if you own Raricoin, you're taking part in a community-owned, marketplace where you can also participate in building this value and collecting those transaction fees. So those are the kinds of tokens that I think are very disruptive.
That's fantastic, and you know what? It's just plain out fun. So you can see why there's a lot of consumer demand and why this would start to work in a broad consumer base. So very, very fascinating stuff. Jake, so that's what you find to be the most fascinating thing right now. Is there anything else that people need to know about CoinFund that you would like to get across today?
Absolutely. I mean, we're a growing team. We're one of the biggest funds in the industry. We're definitely hiring for our investment team. We're hiring for our operations team. We're hiring for our team. So everything in crypto is growing, and so are we. The other thing is, if you're an institutional investor, I think different strategies could be interesting to you in this space. I think we're finally reaching a point of understanding and maturity with institutional investors about why blockchain technology is so important. And of course, if you're a startup, if you're an entrepreneur, and of course, if you're building in the blockchain space, come chat with us. We'd love to learn about your project and potentially invest in it.
Fantastic. Jake Brukhman, thank you so much for being here. I bookmarked every site that you mentioned. I'm so interested in CoinFund and the stuff that you guys are looking at. So thank you for being here with us at the Small Cap Conference, sir.
Okay, thanks so much for having me.
Have a wonderful day.